invite our first speaker, Tiia, Professor Tiia Rüütmann from Estonia, Tallinn University of Technology. Please, now it's your time, 1 hour approximately, for your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, dear colleagues. I would like to thank you for asking and inviting me here. I'm very happy to be here for the second time, and thank you to Vincentas, who has been looking for us in such a wonderful way. So I really enjoy always being here in Lithuania. So I would like first to introduce myself. Vincentas already said that I'm from Estonia. My name is Tiia Rüütmann. I'm Associate Professor at Tallinn University of Technology, and my field of research is teaching STEM and engineering and engineering pedagogy as a science. And I'm also head of the center, which provides support for our faculty members in didactics and pedagogy. From last year, I'm also the president of International Society of Engineering Pedagogy. That's why I would like to concentrate with my talk and keynote on engineering pedagogy as a science to be a teacher's support and also support for getting better competencies for effective teaching STEM. So, a short overview that I would like to talk about today, an introduction, and then about the skills our society worldwide needs. But from the other side, as I'm from Technical University and teaching engineers, my background is chemical technology engineering. That's why I really teach engineers from both sides, giving them the knowledge of their field and also how to teach their field. So, attributes of engineering graduates, what are they worldwide? That have been designed by international engineering education societies. And then there is a competency model for university teachers who teach engineering, so I would like to introduce it. And also introduce or give a short overview of the toolbox that engineering pedagogy as a science provides for teachers and lecturers and professors at the universities also, and to draw up their conclusion. So I think this is the picture that gives the best overview of today's society. We have a welfare society. We would like to get all the information with one click and very quickly. No work, no just learning with comprehension. No time for digesting and learning. We just want to make a click, get a simple solution, but later we do understand that it is not the best one. At least in STEM, you have to stop at this shelf with books and learn something in a real way, and then just move on, not in a very straight line. Your path will be quite difficult. So, UNESCO has given us 4 pillars of education. These are learning to be, learning to do, learning to learn, and learning to live together. That means we have to be able to work accordingly to support our students' critical thinking and understand cultural awareness, but also take account of the principles of emotional intelligence. Empathy is very important also in teaching STEM. We have to understand these are very difficult subjects and we have to support our students. The first and the foremost task is support learning. So learning to do, practical skills. I cannot imagine engineering without practice, science without practice, technology without practicing how to use it in the right way, and math that supports it all. And of course, the very painful part, learning to learn. As I already said, it's so easy to make a click and to get all the information, but you will have to know what to do with this information, and you will have to understand either it is right or not. Is it relevant? That means critical thinking, that means meaningful learning. And there is written by UNESCO those 4 R's and 4 C's. 4 R's our students get from general schools: reading, writing, realistic new technology, and also arithmetics. So these are the 4 R's. But we have to support them in 4 C's. That is critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and also creativity. This is the part of the teachers and professors. And of course, learning with comprehension and communication. Communication. We cannot do it online, as people usually do. We cannot learn it online. We have to do it on site. So yes, the 21st century skills that are just, we may say, supported by new learning environments, but also teachers' professional development, and we have to redesign curricula and to redesign also standards and assessment methods, because I will also today give some ideas on which assessment method we can use in STEM, because you see technology is developing so quickly that those old multiple answer questions and tests are not so effective anymore. So yes, we have to give to our students learning those 4 C's and information literacy and STEM literacy, because they will have to cope with their lives. But from the World Economic Forum, we have also those suggestions of supporting cognitive, interpersonal, digital, and self-leadership skills. That means, again, we have to support them how to learn, how to make connections, how to build their knowledge, how to use it, how to systematize it, and how to learn it with deep understanding. Of course, we cannot do without digital world anymore. So we have to know how to use software and understand all those digital systems. So my age is not so happy always, but we have to cope, and we are really trying to develop. But I really have very good young colleagues who always are ready to help. And as I said already in the introduction, international societies for engineering education have set those attributes for engineering graduates. Engineering being a very integrative part of STEM has been, those attributes have been designed by International Engineering Alliance, and the first and foremost outcome or attribute, as you see, engineering knowledge. We have forgotten about knowledge. We think we can get it online, we can get it wherever we need with one click, as I already mentioned. But we have to prepare our students for a situation where there is no electricity and there is no Uncle Google who says what you have to do next. You have to be able to work without internet. You have to make decisions without internet. And sometimes they will have to be very quick. And people and society depends on your decisions. And of course, problem analysis, design of solutions, investigation knowledge, modern tool usage, as you already saw, those requirements and suggestions have been set by other organizations. And thinking about how to support society and environment, sustainability, green energy, ethics, individual and teamwork. Yes, we have to support teamwork, but learning usually is happening also in a in a quiet library or in your own office in individual work. It has to be just balanced. And of course, communication and project management skills and lifelong learning skills. Tallinn has come to a stop where we cannot be proud of getting a diploma and putting just flower to your coat and say, I am now a diploma engineer. That's it. You have to start developing from the next day. You have received the diploma. Because technology, science is developing so quickly that now you will have to go on learning. I was in a conference with Airbus manager who said that they take engineers, creme de la creme, from all the best technical universities. And then they will have to learn there for 6 years. It means 5 years at the university, because international engineer is considered to be a 5-year studies, and then 5 plus 6 years in Airbus. And then they can start working as engineers. That means 11 years of studies. So yes, lifelong learning is a very important part in our lives. But we are now in the 4th industrial revolution and moving on to the 5th already. So again, those 4 C's: problem solving, emotional intelligence, and of course judgment and decision making skills. You have to do it quickly, you have to have your own system of knowledge, and you have to take those decisions based on the best practices and principles of science. Well, we may just discuss with you and come to conclusion that let's do the way that tomorrow there will be no, for example, gravity law. Yes, we can come to conclusion with you, and we can just decide that let's do the way, but it doesn't help. Our decisions are not always relevant. We have to take account of science laws, and our knowledge. So that means if we have a look at all those requirements, suggestions, what the graduates will have to know or do, we'll have to start re-engineering all those learning processes. Because at first, this COVID period that made absolutely new principles of education, all students were, and you and me were working back at home. And then when it ended, in Estonia at least, it's so difficult to bring students back to university. They want to be back at home and they're going to work, and it's relevant for them to get all the materials online and to work individually. But again, in engineering and science, you can never work online only back at home. You have to do group work and not online. You have to work in real labs and solve real life problems. So what we have to do as teachers, just to support this just-in-time knowledge and learning, that means when our students need some knowledge in problem-based and project-based learning, they will have to look for it at first by themselves. And then if needed, they will come to us where we can help, and sometimes we even can't help. We have to ask engineers from the industry to come and help them. And of course, explanation on board and one-shot teaching and learning. These are those new principles. We have to give explanations when they are solving real problems. We have to give them the one-shot knowledge when they know it, if they cannot find it by themselves. And that means constant knowledge building, and now, well, we have to hold the interest. But the most and foremost method that has been arising, has been always here, reflection and metacognition. But now, with the development of AI and new technologies, we have to use more reflection and metacognition. Of course, there is no learning if it's not reflected. So we have to support learning with comprehension. and with deep understanding. And that's the problem, learning to learn. Well, I don't know, I hope that you have better practices, but at our university, when student comes from schools, they usually have been accustomed that the teacher says what they will have to do for tomorrow. But when they come to university, they will have to take their own decisions. They have their tasks, and they have to know how to manage their time, how to manage themselves, how to self-motivate, and so on. So yes, they have to get the knowledge of the core content, because there are no scientists and engineers and mathematicians if their knowledge is online only. It's impossible. And they have to be able to do with their own hands, with technology, with using different apparatuses, whatever. They have to learn those skills. That means they will be able to know, they're able to do, and they are able to value. To value their cultural competencies, but also those skills. And those 4 C's, we cannot cope without them. Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. And they will have to be just integrated all the time by us, by teachers. What we have started at our university is we support with this reverse method, because it is very difficult to say to students that use this reverse method in learning. Well, they won't. We have to do it by ourselves. That means, first of all, help them to retrieve concepts, main concepts, and yes, sometimes switch to other related learning tasks, but repeat it again. Do it through the practice. Do it by their hands. Just implement the knowledge every time. You will understand how it's done when you will do it by yourself. And reflection. What have you done? How can you do it better? What were the mistakes? What are you proud of? How could you use the help of the others? Whatever. There are lots of questions, sets of questions for teacher to support this reflection. And now, during the whole curriculum, we'll have to analyze where and when to repeat the most important concept. We have started to analyze the curriculum for the whole year, for 2 semesters. So in which subjects, which topics are just implemented in projects, in problems. So perhaps we will do something later in order to again repeat the main concept, so they will not only remember, but they will understand it with deep understanding. They can make connections, and they can see connections with other topics. So in learning the STEM cycle, well, they have to do something, like by using flipped classroom, to do something before coming to the class. And when they attend, they will have to be active, and that's our task, of course, to hold them active, and after the class. Some tasks for revision, something to study alone independently, and let them access and reflect also by themselves, using self-assessment or peer assessment. Yes, James may have presented this kind of a learning curve according to his research. It works very well in teaching STEM. Well, at first, our students will get initial basic concepts. And then they feel that they are already there. But when we start implementing it, they will fall into the hole. And then they will need again our help just to reach the plateau. Repeating, solving problems, doing projects, discussion, reflection, cooperation. But I really am sure that during one semester it's quite hard to reach the inflection point or even proficiency. That needs 10,000 hours of work, approximately 5 years. That's why it also said that engineers will be real engineers after 5 years of studies. So our students need our support and every rise of this learning curve. At first, when they learn those concepts, then when they implement it in different environments with different tasks, and then just, I hope that at the end of the year, or at least at the end of the curriculum, they will reach that proficiency. But we have to know and understand that they will fall into that hole. That means they need help at that time. That they really need some motivation from our side. We have to also understand that there must not always be only positive emotions. According to Vygotsky, I love his theories, and he really is one of my favorite psychologists. He has shown that our students develop through the processes they go through. That means they have to get positive but also negative emotions. They have to make efforts and be active. They have to take responsibility. This is the part we have to give them. They not only have to take, but from our side, we have to give them the responsibility. And of course, analysis and self-assessment and building connections and just going through success and failure. But that supports also their learning from their own mistakes, analyzing mistakes and learning from mistakes. It's the best methodology to analyze the mistakes made during the learning period of students. When they are engineers or scientists, sometimes making mistakes is quite hard for the whole society, but while they are students, it's very good to analyze mistakes and learn from them. But everything that will conclude this learning process, metacognition, reflection, feedback, and forward communication or feed forward. So the feedback is quite effective, but forward communication, how can I do it better in the future, is much more effective and much more motivating for students. We have come through those three different stages. There was teacher-oriented teaching or teacher-centered teaching. There was learner-centered teaching, but now we have reached learning-centered teaching, at least in engineering. That means it's engineering and it's interactive learning and teaching. And it always assumes meaningful learning with comprehension, self-analysis, self-motivation, empathy, and reflection. We can't do it without anymore. I have really tried it, and my students love it. They already know that they will have to reflect at the end of our project or seminars or interactive lessons, so they are ready for reflection already. They are waiting for the reflection at the end of our meetings, and they say it helped a lot. When we had that Corona or the COVID time, as we all, I had also to teach online, and I had to rethink about the assessment principles of my subjects, because I couldn't do those tests and presentations we were doing back at earlier times. And what I did, I decided to have reflections. So I asked my students to upload reflections at the end of every week. And at the end of the semester, I received the feedback they had never learned so much and so with such a deep understanding. They have the whole system of the subject understood. So there was something good in that period also, because I have continued to use this kind of reflection. And those who do it now, at the end of every week, they get bonus from me for their final examination. Because I know they really learn when they do it during every week. STEM with mathematics. I add mathematics because this is one part of my work, and we have STE conference, but I really love maths also in this logo. So As you see, the framework is we may say, it is started or activated by community, practice, teamwork, learning community, because a task is given to students to solve something. And now they will have to rely on science inquiry. They will have to use real-world engineering problems, to use the best technical possibilities they have, because we really have wonderful technology just now, and to implement math in every stage, because they can't do it without it. So we may say all those levels are very tightly connected for solving learning situations that are mostly real-world problems. And according to that, International Society for Engineering Pedagogy has designed a competency model for STEM faculty members and teachers. And the first suggestion is that teachers of STEM at schools and universities should have professional competencies on minimum master level. That means if you are teaching physics, you have to understand something about the subject, and so on. So it is required to understand what you teach, not only how to do it. And of course, all other competencies we all know, like pedagogical, psychological, social, and what is said that STEM didactics and subject competencies, especially with STEM didactics, how to teach science, engineering, math, the way our students will understand which technology can be used, best apps. And of course, communication, ethical, reflective competencies up to lifelong learning again, as it also suggested from engineers. The GIP has designed a micro-credential program for STEM faculty and teachers of general schools and vocational schools. The minimum is 20 ECTS credits with the assumption that the teacher has already the educational and engineering. So this 20 is the minimum of pedagogical and didactical courses. So it is possible to apply also for this international qualification from EGIP and be found from the homepage. But now about something about toolbox. I promised, because engineering pedagogy has quite many axes. There are connection with teacher and students, connection with the content and methodology, because methodology is always selected according to the content we teach and environment where we teach. And now thinking about technology and aids we use and how to reach those goals for us and learning outcomes for our students. These are the questions. And for that, a didactical model has been designed already in 1999 and developed in 2019. I really am very happy and proud to say that Professor Adolf Melezine, the founder of International Society for Engineering Pedagogy, has been the designer together with his research group, and he was my supervisor of my doctoral thesis, so I really am proud and happy for that. And yes, we have to set goals and for us and learning objective for our students and think why we need this kind of a curriculum, course, and so on. Are there any graduates needed in the society? Are there any competencies needed from the graduates? Because there is no need to waste money. We have to do it for a very good aim. And then we think which students are there, what are their prerequisites, who are their teachers, what they will have to know. And we have to take a step back, thinking about are those objectives okay for my students? And if it's okay, we have to select the content that will make it able to reach those learning outcomes. And it's okay for my students' preliminary knowledge. And then, if the system works, we have to take the next step, selecting technology and environment for this. Again, is it okay for this content, for my students, for the learning outcomes? And after that, we select teaching methodology, strategies, methods, because they have to be relevant to learning content and learning environment and for those learning outcomes. And the next step is assessment, because sometimes methodology we use for teaching makes some restrictions for assessment methods, because there is no need to, for example, to make tests while we are having a project. So we have to think about how to assess in our used methodology and environment and so on. And the last step is to analyze, to reflect on the side of students, on the side of a professor, to make it better anytime. So this is the model we are using, moving up and down during our design of the courses and during the analysis. And for every step, by the way, there is also lots of didactical models, so I wouldn't like to waste time here, but just give some of those good ideas. Of course, Bloom, universal for years, giving the analysis for knowledge, skills and values. We really have to understand that, I think this is very well known by all of you, but every next step includes the previous one. So if you are creating something, you have remember, understand, you have been applied, you are already analyzing, evaluating and so on. But these three modules make the basis for competencies, knowledge, skills and values. But in technical and engineering education, and also in science, there are some other didactical modules used for analysis and design of courses. This is a very important part of our toolbox. These are the different taxonomies. For example, Feisel-Schmidt's technical taxonomy for teaching science, engineering, math, where you define, state the concept, then you will have to compute according to rules, and then you will have to explain with your own words, solve the problem already while using different rules and procedures, and judging, evaluating, selecting the optimal solution. So if we follow those steps, we can also support our students' deep understanding and learning with deep understanding. And of course, there is a taxonomy for labs. We have to start with demonstration and then cookbook labs, because they have to learn all those skills, and then we move on up to studio design, where students from different levels, bachelor's, master's, doctoral students, are working on real-world problems, solving real problems given from business industry, for example. We have very good examples at our university. Our students have been designed in the way of a studio design, autonomous cars, student satellite, then student formula car, and so on. So they have designed it from zero with the support of industries. And of course, problem-solving taxonomy, where they have to learn the routines and then diagnosis, where to use different equations. And of course, the generation of those routines is the level of doctoral students. But of course, I love very much this Mela Silver's model for problem-based and active learning planning. So really, first of all, they will have to learn how to explain what they will have to do. And at that time, they are working on the level of Bloom's taxonomy of analysis and evaluation. And the next one is descriptive knowledge, what they know, what they will have to do in order to solve the problem. So again, analysis and evaluation level, and with the procedural knowledge, well, they have to think how we will solve this problem. They again are working on the level of critical thinking, finding out the procedures, what they will have to do, and the last, at the foremost level, personal knowledge, reflection, metacognition. What was done well, what will have to be different next time? If I will have a similar problem next time, what I will remember? How can I solve it in a better or faster way, and so on. So this metacognition and reflection really finishes all learning and makes learning meaningful. But what we also have to know from the side of us as teachers and from the side of our students, there is a Miller's competence and capability module that is designed for medical specialists, but medicine and engineering are very, very similar because they both stand on special knowledge. You will have to know, you will have to act quickly sometimes, you will have to take quick decisions, and that's why when we support our students' development, again, as you see from this, they have to get the knowledge, knowing what, basic knowledge, and then on the level of cognition, moving up to knowing how. That means implementation. So we can use in projects and problems those principles very well. And then you will have to show how. That means you will have to demonstrate it. And after that, you can do it already independently in practice, for example, in industries. And when you reach the highest level where you are already a specialist of higher level, it means you really demonstrate attitudes, values, behaviors over specialists of the field. And that assumes that you have passed all those previous steps, getting knowledge, skills, and attitudes of your field of work. So I like this competence model very much, and I always try to work accordingly when I teach my students. What is also used in engineering, pedagogy, science is universal design for learning. That means supporting students' learning. You can find very wonderful materials online about it. But what is our task is to engage our students with multiple means. Represent the material and ask the students to represent it in different ways. And there should be lots of action and expression in order to learn with deep understanding. That means in this case, if we use those principles of UDL, we have really proposed and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable and strategic and goal-directed students. And that is the aim at the real time now, because our students will have to work more independently. We cannot just spoon-feed them at the university. They have to learn independently. They have to take responsibility, but we have to create the possibilities. This is our task, to give them all those possibilities to develop. Well, in early times it was said that there are 3 levels of competencies, knowledge, values, and skills. Now, Atkinson has added 2. And I think that you do agree. That is metacognition, reflection, and communication. And now, yes, we can learn knowledge, a bit values, metacognition also online. But you can not learn all the skills needed for science and engineering and all the communication needed for development of students online only. There are lots of online labs, e-labs, whatever, lots of possible ways to do labs online. And they are okay. Simulations are okay, they are very good. But our students will also have to do something by themselves. To do it practically by their own hands, not only watching. I can show you lots of videos how to build a house. But I think that when we start building it together with you, the first one will demolish before it will be ready. So you will have to implement your knowledge on every stage, not only looking but doing. And when you have done, the second house will be much better. That means you will learn by doing. So there are 5 types of learning already. And of course, the metacognition of students is always supported by methodology we use. And we can build this kind of a continuum from, if we build it from the left side, there are the more teacher-centered direct teaching and this lecture. And the more right we move, the more active and indirect teaching we reach. That means that the right side is the place for problem-based, project-based, learning-centered learning. That means we have problem-based learning, project-based, team-based learning, research, design, collaborative learning, CDIO, whatever, to name but a few. But we can never throw out those lectures. I think that short interactive lectures are very good. For example, for one topic, as a TED talk, as a maximum 10 minutes, because I read a research where it was analyzed how long students watch the video without scrolling. It was 6 minutes. So if you just upload a video of your lecture over an hour, they will watch for a 6 minute and then start scrolling. So it's good to have those short, very, very concentrated videos about one topic. I think they are very good for our students. And then some other materials for individual learning. So interactive lectures with active pauses, with active activities we give them during it. They will try it out. So lots of my colleagues have taken those mini lectures to labs. So they give 5 minutes and then they do it in lab, for example. They continue with practical. They will try to do it at once. In this case, they will remember. So yes, well, Richard Felder has made his research and said that flipped classroom is working, but flipped classroom is much better. That means when you give some knowledge, that the basic knowledge and information, and then you send them back learning alone, online. And then they'll come back to your classroom, solving problems, discussion. And also in Stanford University, they have made this kind of research and really proved that the flipped classroom is okay, but not so good as flipped classroom for teaching STEM science. And again, we have to support learning with science and engineering with online labs, simulations, but we have to do it also in real labs. We cannot just throw them out. If we take Bloom and put those different activities on this Bloom taxonomy, we can see that we can never throw away those subject-based learning where we get basic knowledge. Basic knowledge of physics, chemistry, math, and then we have to do it in labs to implement what we have learned, using active learning strategies in lessons. They will have to do something to discuss, to find answers, to answer to theoretical questions and so on. And then we can add case studies, simulations, educational games. We already add inter and multidisciplinary learning. And then comes problem-based, project-based, team-based learning. And the highest level is studio learning, design, and problem-based and project-based learning. So they get experiences, they get best practice at that time. If we have this group work, like Dee Fink's idea that if you have group work, ask them to do it first individually. Then make a small discussion in a small group and then discuss it in the class. They will learn it with much higher level. With giving them the same problem, for example, to the groups and ask them to solve it in a different way. What we have also understand is that we use group work. Then we have to understand the group development phases. Nothing to be done. Because at the first and the forming stage, as you see, they need a teacher. And they are not very good in cooperation, in productivity, but they are satisfied and they need a teacher to manage them. At the phase of storming, of course, everything collapses, but in the phase of norming and performing, these are the groups who are working with self-regulation. It means if we need to solve very important projects, it's quite hard to do it with a group that met yesterday. But it's wonderful to do it with a group that already has been, who know each other, who has been working together. Again, we have to understand it as teachers. And now this everlasting question, deductive and deductive teaching, teacher-centered or student-centered or inquiry learning. So what I read from different books, and we have started to implement it at our university, is that we have to find a balance. Because the deductive, the old traditional teaching gives the systematic knowledge and abstract thinking, and the problem-based active learning, inquiry, collaborative learning gives our students analytical thinking. So they will have to be combined. But using only project-based learning, they will never get the whole system of the subject and the whole system of their field. And now about assessment, I promised you, we have changed all the assessment methods. So we use self-analysis, self-evaluation, peer assessment, video reports they make from their projects and present them on seminars. Group tests. That means one part, the first part of the test is individual, where they will have to answer the questions individually. And then they just upload or give the tests away, how it's just organized. And then there is a group examination part where they take a ticket where there is a problem, they will have to solve together. And this group examination is a favorite for our students. They really like it because there are real-world problems. Sometimes we give them 48 hours to solve it. They will come back and present this problem solving. But yes, simulations, analysis of mistakes, on-site nomination, that means you will come to my examination and no one knows who will give the presentation from the side of the group. They will all have to be ready, because one person will earn the task from the others. And at me, it is a very good environment designed by Purdue University. Try it out, it works. IA area, yes. That's why we have changed those assessment methods. There is no need to do those multiple choice questions anymore. They will answer it in a minute. There is no aim to ask essays. It's so easy to do it with the help of a good friend, ChatGPT. Now it's time to think so that there will be more reflections, students' individual ideas, and so on. So this is the part we have to rearrange absolutely. So student thoughts, representations, and so on with reflection. And yes, reflection is very much needed. So this is the way we have started using Levin and Kolb's experiential learning principles and supporting with those questions, what you have done, who was involved, what was the results, how you experienced it, what was the feedback, and so on and so on. What was done well, what didn't work well, what you will have to think differently next time, what can you try for the next time, how can you proceed in similar situations, and so on and so on. So these kind of reflections are very, very good. And of course, metacognition that we support with questions also try to go from planning to monitoring the process and then evaluation. They do it themselves. They write it down, usually one pager, and they send it or upload. So these are those questions. They say they help them. And well, I'm trying to end my presentation now. So this is the big picture. We have 21st century skills. We have now 21st century tools. We have to decide what to teach. We have to teach them the basics. They have to know without Google. we have to support them to build connections, to build their knowledge system. But also think about how to do it, in which environment, how to assess it, which standards should be taken as a basis of. And of course we cannot do it without new technology, and I think that we cannot do it also without artificial intelligence. But we have to focus on the process and the analysis of the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiia. Possible some questions or some comments? Please.
Thank you very much for the inspiration. Question about the reflection. You mentioned that you organized it for students online. Thank you. So I have a question about the reflection. How did you organize it online? And then you said that you continue to organize it also when you return to the on-site studies. Did you notice any differences in students' reflections? And can you recommend how to organize this, how to make it possible for teachers?
Yes, going back to that COVID time, when I started with reflections, they didn't know how to reflect. They just told me what they did. And then I understood that they had never been reflecting before, so I gave them questions, frameworks, and said that you will not have to follow all the questions, but select the one you think you really would like to answer. And then I started to get those uploaded reflections during the COVID time, and they were wonderful. They really started to become wonderful every time, better and better. Now when we return to the classroom, well, at our university there is a requirement that all the subjects will have to be supported by materials of model. That means we have the model subject materials there, short video lectures, educational game simulations, whatever. So there's a whole subject material also online, because lots of our students are working in the industry. And now it's not also compulsory to reflect. That means that when in that COVID time they had to do it. Now they have to decide either they want to reflect, and in this case they get bonus points for their final examination. Because I really know that when they make these reflections, they learn much better than just 3 days before the examinations. So they get bonuses, and there are students who are very interested in it, especially for work. And I must say that about 50% of students upload their reflections now. Not all.
Thank you. Some more questions? Angela, please.
Thank you for your presentation. I really think it was so informative. You use so many different models, and obviously this has developed over a period of time, and with a team of people. Now, 2 questions basically. You speak about STEM, but currently we are also looking at STEAM.
Yes.
So what is your perspective with regard to the move from STEM to STEAM? Because as you are presenting, I see STEAM there, I do not see STEM. That's one. And then the other question is, you speak a lot about supporting students. I really think that it's not about supporting students. Because when we work with students, it's about creating the atmosphere and the context for the students to be enhanced in that process. So I just want to know from you, support. Big issue.
Creating the learning environment suitable, not that I really help you in your learning, but I give all the possibilities from my side that you will learn. And with the STEM and STEAM, well, Vincentas has a STEM. So I think I will add only one letter M. I didn't dare to add 2. But
we are working already on the level of STE.
No way. Let's keep transparent and clean without any additional letters. More questions? Oh, your question.
Vincentas, I am not an expert in this field, therefore I would avoid to make some stupid questions. But anyway, I can pose a question which is a specific one, okay? I mean, it's a question which is a specific question, and therefore I don't know if it's correct in this context.
Stupid, that's specific.
Both stupid and specific, exactly. The question is this: do you think that in the development of the profession of engineering, a changement in the mathematical education of the engineering is also necessary, or do you think that the traditional mathematics education for engineers is enough? I mean, analysis 1, analysis 2, linear algebra, and so on, or some changes, for example, in the direction of an improvement of the mathematical necessary for artificial intelligence is necessary?
Yes, thank you. It was a very, very good question. Yes, we have started to change mathematics. Well, I was a Soviet engineer, yes, like you are. And those Soviet times, when I was learning that as an engineer, I had mathematics for chemical engineering. So now we have really, for a very long time, those same mathematical subjects, and we have, from last year, we have started to change it. That means professors of engineering subjects have started to give problems to math professors. We have destroyed all those old math principles, and they are solving those engineering problems already on the first year, using all possible math labs and whatever, so all apps, and well, that's done during the last year. So the first course we have just taken will end in this June, so we'll get the feedback from students, but yes, we have redesigned the whole math and also physics. Physics, according to the subject, to mechanical engineers, they have the other physics, to chemical engineers, and civil engineers, they have the other physics. So we have started to redesign those subjects, yes. Thank you.
Are you satisfied, Paolo?
I am satisfied.
Okay. You know, in BalticSTE doesn't exist stupid question, just specific. Thank you very much, Tiia, once again. And